little bit. Maybe. All right, y'all. Happy Monday, beautiful people. Happy Monday. It is December the 26th, 2022, day 298 of year 4, reading through the books of the Law and the Prophets. Another 4-year consecutive day count. It is day 1,317. Today, I'm going to make a couple comments about the John Lant plates. And then we're going to pick up where we left off at for now, while I do a deeper dive into something. Hold on. We're going to be picking up, would have been page 107. Here. Page 107. Chapter, is it? Did we finish? Did we finish chapter 13? Trumpeters. Holy Begotten. No, I think we started on chapter 13. Okay. Chapter 13, page 107 in big blue. And we're going to read to the end of the book, which is the last two chapters, chapter 13 and 14. We're going to read it from, let's relabel the John Lant plates, all right? What we're calling the John Lant plates. We're going to call it the so-called original manuscript of the John Lant plates. For now, because if my my hunch and my little insight will just say from a trusted source, without saying any names at the moment, if it proves to be true, this is truly going to change the trajectory of everything that we've been doing. So, after we read these last two chapters of the Book of Apollo, we're going to hop back over to the field guide to the spirit world. All right? Okay. And I'll tell y'all what I mean. A little bit, just a little bit. Okay. So, top of the day, everybody. Prince over here on Facebook. Shalom, brother. Shalom. And everybody else over here on Facebook hanging out in the background. YouTube, top of the day to you, Nat. Shalom, animalistic nature. Shebrew, all praises to the creator, Nazarene, the scene. What's up, Dawn? Peace, love, and light, Dawn. I saw some emails coming through from you yesterday. I did not get a chance to open them, but if I think I have read the title of what it was, it looks like you started scrolling through the so-called original manuscript of the John Lant plates and started listing the books that were actually in there. And if so, thank you so much. I'll get to it today. It's going to be a little bit later on now. I'll read through your email. But thank you for that. I didn't get a chance to create a spreadsheet. Okay, sweet, sis. Thank you so much. I didn't get a chance to do quite a few things that I wanted to do yesterday, but I'm gonna be picking it up a little bit later today. Francis, shalom, brother. Nassar Yahoo, top of the day. Iman, set apart. I love the live last night. It was great. And then when Selah picked it back up, because it ended, I know you was having you was having connection issues. I think you said your computer actually died. But we had already started this conversation while we was waiting for you to come back in. And the spooky out, I think it started from when I saw your door open behind you. I didn't know you had a cat or cats. And I walked away and I'm like, maybe I missed something. Did her door just open behind her? And I'm sitting here thinking, I was like, now I know she can see what's going on behind her and her camera. I know she just saw her door open. So when you didn't say anything, I'm like, well, maybe she wasn't paying attention. So let me just ask just in case, because look, like Selah said, it might be an active spirit in the building. So I'm over here. I'm like, Ema, is your door just open by itself behind you? And that's when you said, I saw you giggle a little bit. You looked back and giggled a little bit. You said, Pam, that's my cat. I was like, oh, whew, she's good. I was over here cracking up. I be being silly sometimes. But that's where it all started, right? So a couple comments was made in the chat and everything. And Selah started talking about something that blew my cap, talking about this woman who had a dream that her husband came to her in a dream, and apparently dude was a Hebrew Israelite. Like this, I be thinking my stories is crazy, right? But the more I listen to other people, I'm like, yo, this is going on all around the world, right? He said, sis, well, if y'all haven't been on his channel, haven't watched this video where, let me just get to it before I even bring it up. Anyway, a sister that he had talked to previously about some supernatural goings-ons, she came and mentioned that she had a dream and her husband was a Hebrew Israelite or whatever. And he started tapping into probably some things he shouldn't have been, right? And her husband came to her in a dream and said that he was stuck in the spiritual realm and the spirit that's inhabiting his body is not him. I'm like, shut your mouth. To make it even crazier, dude, being a Hebrew Israelite, he lived a lifestyle of multiple wives. And he had another wife that had the same exact dream. And she actually lived in another state, if I remember correctly. So both of this man, 2 wives, came to him in a dream and said, yo, that is not me in my body. It's another spirit. I'm stuck here. I'm like, oh, shizzle kits. I'm like, what do you do? Like, that's real freaky, right? Jamil said something. I was over here screaming. Like, if y'all could have heard me laughing last night when Jamil made her comment, y'all, oh my gosh. Somebody asked, I know I asked her, what would you do? Jamil said, she gonna keep being obedient to her husband. I mean, I hit the floor when Jamil said that, right? So it was really good. So that's the conversation that was happening. Ema, when your computer started acting up. So I'm not sure if you heard any of that. Because when you finally came back in for a couple minutes, Selah said, yeah, we trying to end it. And then you just like clicked it off. I'm like, oh, what? That can't be the end of this story. You did hear it? Okay. I was just like, man, I was like, he can't leave us hanging like this. He can't leave us hanging like this. And about 2 minutes later, I see pop up, it survives. I'm like, yes, finish the story. So I logged in. And so he picked it up a little bit more and it became spooky hour last night on Selah's channel for a little bit. But it was really, really interesting, right? And from some of the things that I understand spiritually, and they even got it in movies, right? You can swap bodies with people, right? On purpose or even not on purpose. If you just playing around with something and don't know what to do. That's why I be telling people, listen, don't be playing around, right? Even though I showed y'all about some of the stuff that I came across in the magic books, I don't even mess with it for real, right? Because I know it works. And if you go in there and you start taking shortcuts and learning how to do this cool stuff, right, you're gonna mess around and find yourself in a position that you don't know how to get out of. Like, because you done took all these shortcuts to get some woo-ha thing spiritually or whatever, and you haven't taken a manual process to learn how this works and how to backtrack a little bit, your hind parts is going to be up the creek without a paddle, and your boat is going to sink really quick, right? And you too far out most of the time for anybody to hear you scream for help. So, say like I got the craziest stories, yo. So, but that was good last night. All right. Hannah, shalom, sis. You was there live. Nazarene, the scene. Hold on. I already said, hey, Nazarene. I did. You just said something else. Elijah, peace and blessings. Gloria, good morning. Elijah said, yeah, that experience of the wife's husband stuck in the spirit world woke me up last night when I was listening to the live. What? Yeah. You want to hear something crazy? Because I started to share it when he was talking about it. Every time Selah started talking about the spooky hour, something recent didn't happen with me, right? Look, hold on. So, animalistic nature, I know, like, wow. Elijah said the part that got me about the story was when the wife said, I knew it wasn't him. Oh, yeah. Yo, it was that just sent chills up my body. She said, the part that Elijah said, the part that got me about the story was when the wife said, I knew it wasn't him. When I sang our song, he didn't sing with me. Now, what do you do? What is a sister to do? First of all, I'd have been on the phone, even if I was at odds with the other wife. I'm like, sis, what is we gonna do? First of all, I'm sending him to your house. She would have going back for I'm like, listen, well, I'm about to break this. I'm about to break this vow because I mentioned last night, I'm like, well, technically, wouldn't that be committing adultery if the wives that now knew that the husband said, yo, that's not my body, if they continue to have sex with this man, wouldn't that now be considered adultery? You know, so I'm thinking about all of this. And how can you feel safe in the house now you literally know that you're sleeping with a stranger, right? Look, we was talking about this. I was listening to y'all talk about this last night, and here come my husband walking. I'm like, looking at his eyes. Hey. And I started doing something silly that only we know. He's like, I'm like, okay, just had to do a quick check. So we got our certain little things that we do, right? So I'm just like, holy crap. I'm like, now I got to be more on the lookout. I'm like, this is some crazy crap, right? So yeah, I would have been on the phone with the other sister wife, but like, listen, sis, what is we gonna do? He about to come to Ohio with you. You know what? You let him stay there for a little while I figure out. Now, I wouldn't have completely ghosted him, but it would have been clank, clank. I would have closed the shop down until we figured out how to set the brother free. But shoot, if they weren't spiritually, if they weren't already, well, shucks, they had the dream. They had enough spiritual sensitivity for the dream to come through, right? But what do you do at that point, right? When you know, like, do you go? And now, if you in the midst of a whole bunch of other Hebrew Israelites and they have spiritual, even of 25%, most of them, right? You can't really go to them for real. I would say at that point, I'd be to forget all my Hebrew roots, and I would have searched out an old church mother or somebody like that knew how to get a prayer through in the spirit realm. In the spirit realm. Because what do you go to? Do you go to an exorcist? Do you go to a voodoo priest? I mean, like, really, what do you do? Go look for a shaman, somebody who know how to, and then how do you know that when you exercise the spirit, that the right spirit is going to go back into the body? It's like, it's so much crap. I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm cool with taking the manual, the long road, the long road. What Shebrew say? Wait, Shebrew, let me make sure I got this right. Shebrew said it got better, so they stayed silent. Grins. Wait, so you saying that when the spirit swapped bodies or would kick her real husband's spirit out, the relationship got better? And they just stayed silent? Is that what you're saying? Look, low key, some women probably be like, man, I'm glad that ninja gone. Leave him out. Listen, all that crap you was doing, sis, let's enjoy this. I'm going to have him this week. I'm going to say, matter of fact, you want to come? We switch. What you want? That's okay. Yeah, look. Like, sis, wait, hold on. Did y'all try this? Look, that's what I thought you was saying, Shebrew. I just wanted to make sure. Shebrew said sex got better. They said silence, youngin. Oh, my God. Listen, Shebrew, you hilarious. Okay. All right, let's get to this reading. Okay, so while I was talking with some, and I'm gonna kind of be, look, I hate to start getting secretive on y'all, but based on a little, well, yesterday I mentioned when we was live that I said, I think I need to adjust my search a little bit. I think I need to really focus on like the John Lant plates in another way. Like I really need to put more emphasis on John Lant, right? So after talking to, let me just say some trusted friends, and we was tossing back and forth some ideas and stuff, right? Somebody else had a hunch down that same lane. And I'm like, you know what, that would make a big difference. It's interesting. It's an interesting train of thought, but that particular person took the train of thought just a little bit further that I had not considered, right? I considered something really close, but not to the extent that this person considered it. I'm like, you know, and I'm thinking that's worth checking out just to see, right? We absolutely have to go down that lane at this point, right? Especially now that I've come across, I'm not going to say new information, but information that I hadn't just yet gotten to about Shalom, right? But somebody else had. And they mentioned about a flood that came through Shalom, right? And they started and clearly we read it, but it hadn't really clicked with me about the different things that was happening, all the issues that they was running into with Shalom. And finally a flood came through and wiped Shalom out. They rebuilt it, you know, but thinking about that as this person mentioned it, I'm thinking like, yeah, you're right. And then I started thinking about how John Newbro passed away, right? So I'm just like, yeah, this is interesting because when that particular person said that about the flood, I remember reading something here, and which book is Brahma in? Bronze, yo, shalom. Which book is Brahma in? I don't remember exactly. I want to say, don't quote me. Oh, yeah, thank you, Vinette. Thank you. Okay, so silent, well, okay, those who are part of the escrow, okay, thank you, Bronze. Okay, Vinette says something about what I'm talking about. Anybody here that's already a part of the Creator Gangs group, right? And for those people that's hanging out in the background, you just gonna kind of miss it a little bit for a little while, simply because of the nature of what we're about to start checking into. If you hang out in the background and you're not having already like been here and like engaging to the point where we trust you and we added you to this group, you can kind of miss what we're talking about just a little bit, right? But I'm gonna try and keep you filled in, but only so much, simply because of we're not the only ones looking for the John Lant plates, right? Not saying that that's a big deal or whatever, but in the way I think it is, right? If you go to the Creator Gangs chat that we're a part of, Elizabeth, hi. Look, let me ask this question real quick before I finish my thought. Elizabeth Weaver, right? I've been wondering, but I didn't want to say it and put my foot in my mouth. Are you Ray, Elizabeth Weaver? Because you said hi. Because I was wondering this, you know, as we were chatting in a previous email. You know, it didn't say Ray, it said Elizabeth Weaver. Are you? Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, hey sis, hey Ray. Ray is here, everybody. Hey Ray, hi. Okay, I thought I was right. Okay, so back to what I was saying. So if you haven't already been here engaging and we've added you, I ain't added you. Somebody else would have added you to the Creator Gang group, right? If you go there and listen to everything we was talking about yesterday, shortly before, I say probably about 3 hours before Iman's live yesterday, you will know what we're talking about and the lane we're going down, checking into, right? So I'm gonna kind of keep it not quiet, But certain aspects of the search, I am going to keep quiet because I don't want it tainted. Not that anybody here would taint it, but I know even some of the currently active groups in Shalom are looking for the John Lant plates. And I don't know, right? But I feel like, because I like to share everything, but I think this particular aspect, I feel strongly that it needs to kind of be kept just for a little bit so I can get through some things. I gotta kind of withhold just a little bit. Not that I'm withholding information, because I'm gonna eventually present it to you. But this particular avenue that we're going down, I'm gonna need to keep quiet just a little bit. With the exception of the people who we've already been kind of talking about, just kind of going back and forth. Yeah, can't keep it undercover, right? Okay, so that's why I said we're gonna rename, right? Because I was under the impression, not under the impression. Well, I guess you can kind of say that. But when I found out this information that we were kind of chatting about, somebody brought up that there was a flood through Shalom, right? And it wiped out everything, and everything was completely wiped out. And I mentioned the chest before because I heard them talking about the chest, and other groups of current residents in different Shalom communities, they talk about this chest. Hold on. If you want to share with us, Pam, you can do it in the Create a Game chat. Right, yeah, so that's why I said, Vinette, if you weren't already a part of that when we started talking about it, then it just for now, it's just going to be in that chat, right? And whoever be adding people to the chat, if it's somebody that's been here for a little while that's not in the chat that you feel like can be trusted, I don't know, you can add. But I'm not going to add anybody at this point, right? I'm going to just keep my hands off, and I'm going to go down this road that I'm going to go down this road that we're looking into, right? Okay. But there was a flood, and apparently there was another hole, not just another set of plates other than the John Lant plates with the new printer, but there was actually a rewriting of the original manuscript, because if I have it correct, the actual original manuscript that John Lant had was destroyed. So a whole new manuscript had to be typed up. This allegedly now, right? Allegedly. So I got to go down this road along with another point that I'm really, really interested in. Nobody's brought it up. I talked to my mom a little bit about it last night, just some deeper things about it, and just going along this point for a little bit. So, yeah, so apparently what we have is allegedly the rewritten manuscript. So it's like the second manuscript, not the original manuscript that John Lant had, right? Now, I'm going to keep this right here. YouTube can't see it. I'm going to hold them up. This is still going to represent the John Lant plates. Black Panther, right? We still going to let this represent the John Lant plates, right? When I do my little, when I point out, right? But right now it's going to be alleged, but I still would say that the John Lant plates is still the OG. We're going to look at this Black Panther while we're looking at the other editions, right? So with that being said, I feel some type of way. Not that I feel some type of way, but going through this line by line, somebody, I say Cosmon made a good point. He said that we still need to know what they have. So, like, when we do come across the actual authentic one, now we can verify the authenticity of the real one versus even the reproduced ones and the alleged so-called John Lant plates. Now, it doesn't. If Okay, so now it still really doesn't explain why there's still some stuff missing from the alleged John Lant plates, right? The manuscript, right? Because we know plates, they're perfectly typed. You got copper, and then the ones produced from the copper plates is perfectly spaced. Everything is aligned. So when I say plates, it would be like proof sheets. Well, the manuscript that would have been given to the printer, and they would have taken that and made their own proof sheet, which was perfect. We can tell still this is a manuscript of some kind, some original manuscript, whether it be the original John Lant or the so-called second rewriting manuscript that was given to the second printer, right? So we just gonna kind of like keep moving. Now at this point, I think I'm gonna still keep reading line by line what we have here. But it's really put a fire up under me to really go down this lane, looking out this I'll say this theory we got, right? Which would, if this theory proves to be true, oh my gosh, this is literally going to change the trajectory of everything. And it would make sense. It would absolutely make sense, especially given the time that all of this happened. It would just make complete perfect sense to me if this proves to be true. So that's the most I'm gonna say. So if it feels like I'm I don't know, I ain't gonna say spacing out. I'm trying to keep this together because it's like, man, dang, I wish I would have came across that bit of information before I would have got super hyped up labeling this the actual John Lant plates. I would have, from the beginning, I would have said the so-called. I would have said so-called or alleged until I was absolutely sure. I would have started my search in the other direction just a little bit sooner, but I think it's needful that it happened this way, right? And I think it's needful that it happened this way. Uncle JB, shalom. I think it's needful that it happened this way because I think because, let me word this right. Because the search for this particular lane, like I said, I'm just thinking through some stuff. I think it should have happened this way because I would probably had needed to be quiet just a little bit, right? So kind of throwing me off the rabbit trail just a little bit till I realized, oh shoot, well darn, I wish somebody would have said something, then actually sitting thinking about what's happening and how many people are actually in search for this. I think it was like a momentary, I ain't gonna say setback, but just a momentary pit stop to slow me down just a little bit, so I could pay attention to what's happening, things that's going on around me, even as I began to talk about this and just observe, right? And then move from there. And once I've realized that what's before me now, be a little bit more discreet until I get to the end of this road and find out the real deal, right? So there's some, okay. Yes, Creator will reveal all truth. Vinette said you'll be able to lay your eyes on the plates when you go to Mexico and compare it with those papers you have in your hands. Right, that too. So I was telling my husband, I said, I think we really actually might need to go ahead and take this trip, because they have a whole, like I said, a whole, what do they call it? Exhibit for this, right? A lot of stuff online, but it's a lot of stuff that's not online. But if what we were talking about yesterday and everything that New Mexico would have been from Shalom, because remember, Shalom was right there where the state of New Mexico is at. They literally built the college right there where Shalom, not like on the property of Shalom, but it's right there, right? You know, so it was easy for them, all the stuff that they had, it was easy for them to take it into their archives. They're literally right in the same place, right? But what they would have would be everything from there, right? But they still would not have been the John Lant plates, right? The real OGs the real Black Panther, right? That would not have been it. And even what Wing Anderson would have purchased from John Newbro would have been, according to our conversation and things we were just kind of bouncing around yesterday in the group, it would have been the information from Shalom and the rewriting after the flood, right? Okay, so let me go back to a point real quick. What I was saying about the flood, as we were talking about this, I didn't mention it in the group yesterday, but I started thinking about, Cosmon said, he said, think about all the stuff that just kept happening to them and how they could never really get it off the ground for real. So as he started talking about that, I thought about this portion. That's why I asked y'all where Brahma was at in here. I thought about when I think Brahma, and I could be mixing it up. As I said, y'all probably remember. I believe it was Brahma. They were asking him that they were talking about marriage. I think Brahma had already passed away, and he came back and materialized himself. And it was during this period of materialization where they were asking him all these questions. They started asking him about marriage and a husband and a wife, and about if a wife has a bad husband and should she stay. I'm just summing it up. Should she stay or should she go, and vice versa. If the husband is good and the wife is bad, should he stay, should he go, right? So with this talk right here, this is what came to me while Cosmo was saying this. He said, if the creator wanted, you to separate, he would take one of you home early, right? So while Cosmo was mentioning all the stuff about Shalom and what kept happening, that whole passage from here came to me, and I'm just like, right? Because nobody killed him. They had the viruses and stuff started coming through, took the lives of the children, even some people in Shalom, and finally it took John Newbro, right? So I'm like, well, darn, Cosmo just made a really good point. I didn't bring it out when I was thinking about it, because at that point I had some family, my Uncle JB and Belinda Brown came in the door, right? So I just kept thinking about it, but I'm like, well, that would make sense, because also think about in here, it says, I think it might've been in the letter, maybe not in the letter that John Newbro wrote, but he asked about Shalom, if he could like pretty much reproduce Shalom, and the angels that were overshadowing him said that humanity has not reached a point yet to where, I'm just summing it up, humanity has not reached a point to where this could actually be. But they told him, if you want to try your hand, allegedly they told him, if you want to try your hand at it, go ahead, we ain't stopping you, right? But if we look at the circumstances, and not that everything is going to be peachy while you're trying to build up something and you got this new train of thought and you like this thought leader, not that you're never going to run into stuff. But the type of stuff that they kept running into started ringing bells as we're thinking about this, which gives more, it lights a little bit more of a fire to look at this avenue we considered yesterday going down, right? Because everything was trying to stop them, and eventually Creator allowed John Newbro to be separated from Shalom, right? Thinking about this whole passage. Deshawn, hey girl, hey, Intuitive Go, love you too, sis. So eventually, before the work was complete or whatever, or even a good layout for, I know what we got here, we see in Oahspe, but before a really good layout was out and established, and I know people try to reproduce it, but it's always some crap that comes up from these communities trying to reproduce it from the idea that we get here in Oahspe, right? And you got people now, you have descendants of these people from Shalom, and they're pretty vocal about it, right? They're descendants from people who actually lived in Shalom, and they have ill feelings towards it, which explains their videos on how Oahspe is a cult, people who follow it is a cult, all these different things, right? So I'm considering all of this stuff and all of the different separations and all of this. So finally, the leader, right? Because John Newbro and Shalom, it was like a marriage, right? And thinking about what Brahma said, if it was Brahma who said it, like I said, I don't remember exactly, but I think it was him after he had passed away. He said if the creator wanted to take, if the creator wanted them to separate, he would take one of them home, meaning that the husband or the wife would die, right? And then the issues, they wouldn't be having the problems anymore, or whatever problems it was. If the husband was being abusive to the wife or vice versa, or whatever. If the creator wanted it to be so, he would take one of them home to glory, right? And so that hit me, and as I was thinking about this, I'm like, this is really, really quite interesting. So just so you know how I'm thinking, so you don't think I done lost complete interest in what we're doing. I haven't, but I want to be kind of discreet with this particular road that we're going down, right? I don't think it would be much of a big deal if certain circumstances and situations were different. But because of the way certain things still are right now, it would seem like it's not, but it really is. Because of that, I think I need to be quiet just a little bit so I don't defeat my purpose before I can get through with it, right? Because if I start going down this particular avenue and other people hear about me and which way I'm going, they could possibly, not that they're going to beat me there, but it may create some unwanted attention, and it could really spook some people out. That's the best way I can word that right now. So with that being said, right? So I hope y'all understand, but we're gonna keep going with what we got. We're gonna keep picking through it, see if things are missing, right? Because we can take this and we can still compare with what we're going to get, even with what we're going to actually lay our eyes on, right? When we finally do get over here to the college, right? And look at what they have. And see some of the stuff that they can't actually scan, right? Because there are some artifacts and stuff that they have that they ain't gonna be able to scan that. They could probably take a picture, but if they have said trunk, right? If they have the trunk, that's definitely something that is going to be under lock and key, and they're going to watch you while you look at it, right? So I'm just like, okay. So I think at this point, I think it's needful. Just as I don't think I'm gonna find what we're looking for when I go there. Let me just say that I don't think I'm gonna find what we're looking for when I go there, but I do want to be able to lay my eyes on it to verify, yes, this is a part of this. This truly is a part of this, right? And we have yet to really find the Black Panther, right? All right. So let's pick up where we left off at. Oh, dang, we already at like the 39-minute mark. Well, I should be starting Field Guide to the Spirit Realm. Okay, so let's finish this real quick. And this would have been page, was it 95? Nope, 96. 10. S's. Nope, I read that. You know what? I think I flipped the page back. Yeah, at the end of this. Let's say chapter 13 and 14. I flipped. I moved my pages. Global Purpose said, this is like coming to the realization that Ezra Bible had to be rewritten. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good, Global Purpose, that you would mention that. This is like coming to the realization that the Ezra Bible had to be rewritten when the original Torah was burnt in Babylon, and it had to be rewritten. We definitely have to trust the Creator. What a perfect, timely point that you would bring that up, right? Oh, listen. Oh, looks. man. Because remember, oh, y'all, your Torah is burnt. But what Creator was trying to do, he was trying to break them from the garbage that had been written into the laws, right? So he kept allowing it to be burnt and destroyed. And they's like, nope, let's rewrite it, you know, because it had all the extra garbage in. Let me ask a question. Did Selah, you hear in the background? I want to ask a question. If not, I'm going to have to do it in a group. If he ain't here, I'll keep looking back up. Because it was something I kind of want clarity on. If he's not here, I just asked it in the group. I don't think it'll hurt asking this particular question out loud. It was something he mentioned. Tabitha, hey girl, hey. It was something he mentioned, but I'll probably just add it. I'll probably just ask in the group. Okay. Okay. Right, okay. 13 and 14. Yeah, this is this looks like this is definitely not as much as what's here in the lowest edition. Okay, so picking up, I'm gonna read from the so-called, we're gonna call it, we just shorten it, the so-called manuscript, the so-called John Lant plates. We just shorten it to the so-called John Lant plates. All right, chapter 13. Thank you, Vanette. Father, she said, did you open with prayer? And I didn't give my word of adoration. Thank you. I'm glad I looked up. Thank you. Y'all keep me on my toes, on my feet. Father, we thank you for discretion with purpose. And we ask you that you continue leading us in all truth, guiding us along the way and keeping us safe while we do our search. If what we're to bring out about Oahspe was saved and set apart and kept safe until the Creator gang was awakened to such things, first of all, we thank you for that and for choosing us. But we ask you that you keep us safe, that you keep our eyes open and our ears attentive to the different clues that you're leading us to. And we ask you that you open all doors that should be open for us. Keep information safe that you want to funnel to us first and then present it to the world. However, I don't know, we're still trying to figure it out, but thank you. Thank you that you chose us. Not just me, but all the creative gang, even some of the people hanging out in the background and sending emails, because everybody has a part to play in this, because I wouldn't even know to look down certain roads if it wasn't for some of them. So thank you. Thank you for bringing us together. All right. We open with prayer, Vanette. Thank you. All right. So, chapter 13. And I'm going to read from the so-called John Lant plates, and we'll just kind of follow along. I can tell just by looking at it. There's some things missing because this was some things I've added in here because this is a lot shorter. I'm sorry, it's 15. Wait. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped the page. Okay, 15. I'm sorry. My bad. It's 3 chapters. It's 13, 14, and 15, but they still look shorter than what's in the book. Okay. Lindsay, what's up, brother? It makes sense that whatever journey you're on, you always get to a point of confirmation and reflection, so your journey will make sense. It will. Thank you for that. Thank you, Lindsay. You've been there, not just in the background, but we chat here and there. So you've been here for a while. Mom, shalom, shalom. Okay. Remember, Jehovah is shortened in the so-called John Lant plates, right? They shortened it, and here, all in their lowest edition. I think the other editions as well. I'm waiting for the other editions to come. One of them is an 1882. The one, I need to verify the one that I purchased. I don't think it's a 1881, but now I got to make sure I got each version. and compare with everything, right? Everything. So I'm still waiting for that stuff coming. I'm sure it's slowed down because of the Christmas holiday and all of that stuff. So, but I'll let y'all know when it come in. Just spake in the light of the throne to God, saying, to the council of Gal, heaven of my heaven, sing songs to Apollo and his lords, for my glory is upon them. For my kingdom is the light and the life. Out of my wisdom Apollo hath come. Created I him for the glory of angels and men. In his idols and images shall my people behold the harmony of my beloved. Let me get this paper. With mine own hands molded I the ankles and feet and well-rounded thighs. Behold, the arms of my son, behold, the arms of my son, no longer than to the thighs, and with dimples and small wrists. His neck is straight and slender and smooth and round, like the what is it, the Higgin? Yeah, like the Higgin on an altar, and his shoulders like hewn stone, polished and tapering like a woman's who goeth not to war. His instep is high, he can spring like a deer, swift as the wind. He sitteth not on his hunches all day, with his hands down like a droop that is tired waiting for food. And it has a little asterisk here. And I don't see a footnote here between this and what this is about to say. Okay. Like a droop that is waiting for food. Okay, so in the so-called John Lant plates, right after this sentence where it says, I read up. His instep is high. He can spring like a deer, swift as the wind. He sitteth not on his hunches all day, with his hands down like a droop that is tired, waiting for food. And then there's an asterisk. It says, the lowest tribes in Africa and Australia still sit down on their hunches, bracing their long arms down on the ground. Most likely all Aboriginal tribes did the same. They cannot be induced to sit on a stool or chair or log. When old, they walk almost double, having deformed spines. A worship that would induce mothers to prohibit the habit in their children must have been one of the most important ever given to man. Then it has -ed. And that's where the sentence picks up, right? And it says, he fleeth to the plain and the forest on his swift feet. You know what? I just thought about something. This is making some sense now. Hold up. Listen. Unless, right? Okay, so if it wasn't for the conversation we had yesterday, I may not have even caught this. I'm almost. Okay. This looks like a footnote that's been added in here. I don't know. Like I said, clearly this is allegedly the John Lant plates. But with something that's, I mean, it could be, right? Because the angels could have, as they were typing through the medium, what was going on, they could have added a footnote in there, right? To make clear, but they could have put, after they did that, they could have wrote something like, for example, like we see it through some of the other places here, right? But this seems like a footnote of, this seems like a footnote that will come from a more modern time. Okay, so let's think about this for a second. if in the 1800s, right? If in the 1800s, let me highlight this. They didn't have like internet, right? We knew John Newbro traveled a little, but it didn't, well, I don't know. Don't quote me because I haven't read all his material. Does anybody know if he traveled to Africa? Had he traveled to Africa? Or Australia? Does it say anybody that's read like Susan B. Martinez's book about John Newbro the Prophet? Does it say anything about him traveling to different continents? Does anybody know? I'll wait for that answer. Anybody in the background that's, because I know it's a lot of people in the background that study. No. Okay, right? So this would seem like a modern day term of somebody who would know about this, right? We know the printing presses probably, I think the printing presses, if I'm correct, the printing presses started in about 1400, right? Not many people had been to Australia at that time, right? He'd been to India, right? But this is a reference with Blavatsky. Okay, thank you. Right. Oh, I pulled sis up. I looked at a little bit, but I still got her saved on one of my tabs to go back and really look into her life. But it wasn't a reference to India. It was a reference to Africa and Australia, right? As far as we know, unless he's not letting on, he wouldn't have known this unless he had gotten this through some secondhand information, right? So listen to this. It's the little details. It's the little details. The lowest tribes in Africa and Australia still sit down on their haunches, bracing their long arms down on the ground. Most likely all Aboriginal tribes did the same. They cannot be induced to sit on a stool or chair or log. When old, they walk almost double, having deformed spines, a worship that would induce mothers to prohibit the habit in their children must have been one of the most important ever given to man. This seems like a modern day footnote that has been added in here, right? At least to me, because based on all that I do know, to input this information here, you would have had to know of a certain that this is true, right? So if it wasn't him or he had somebody there that like, no, G, listen, let me tell you, because I've been to Africa and I've been to Australia. Let me tell you about the people down there. I don't think he had that, right? That's just my thoughts. So thinking about what we were talking about yesterday, that this is actually a rewriting of the original. Now, with that happening though, the rewrite, what I gotta do is look and see exactly the year of the flood, right? What year the flood happened in Shalom. Like there's more questions now that I gotta ask to get to the bottom of this, right? So with this right here and thinking about this, it makes me think that this is a more recent footnote, but within the paragraph that's added. Y'all get what I'm saying? Okay, so let me just keep going. But that whole couple sentences is actually lodged between, what was this, verse 5. This is verse 5, his instep, right? It starts with his instep, verse 5. And between, like a droop that is tired, waiting for food, after food, that whole blurb is lodged between that and the very last sentence of verse 5, where it says, he fleeth to the plain and the forest on his swift feet. So, okay, let's keep reading. He fleeth to the plain. Hold on. Okay. I hope that made sense to y'all. It makes sense to me. I hope I said it right. Okay. This would be verse 6. If you follow along in big blue, it's on page 108, chapter 13, verse 6. Of the so-called John Lant plates down at the bottom, the written page number is 98, and at the top you see page 10. All right. Proclaim ye Apollo in heaven and on earth. He is risen. Out of the virgin me is he come. Holy in symmetry and music, there is none like Apollo. She was my betrothed from the foundation of the world, spouse of your creator, O God. Her name was me, mother of mine holy begotten son. And we know me from reading through here. Me is referring to the earth, Mother Earth. They were, excuse me, they were without shapeliness before me. They lolled about on earth and in heaven on their hunches. Waited they hungrily. The virgin bowed down, for her firstborn was the Redeemer of the world. In stone, wood, copper, gold, silver, he is stronger than the 10 cities and wiser than 10,000 men. He cometh to the young mother's dream, and shapeth her unborn, with limbs like a racer, and with long hair on the head. He standeth in the idol, and knoweth the mother's prayer every day. Who calleth on the name Apollo, calleth on the Father, creator of all things. Blessed are the lords of Apollo, blessed the sons and daughters. Blessed are they that bring forth in shapeliness, like my son Apollo. This mark have I put up before all women under the sun, the young women before marriage, and before the young men before marriage. Choose ye of them in the likeness of Apollo. Your heirs shall glorify your creator. Apollo is my judge. He sitteth on my right hand. Swifter than an arrow is his judgment on a woman's firstborn. And we'll pause right there. Dang, we got 58 minutes. Okay, we can pause right there. We just read that one little chapter. And we'll pick that back up tomorrow. Let me read a page or two from the Field Guide to the Spirit World. Let's see. Set Apart says, sounds like whoever was insinuating that Aborigines in Africa, sounds like whoever was insinuating that Aborigines in Australia and Africa were Droogs. That's interesting. Yog said, I want to know when the first Hindu Brahma info got here. The first yogi to America was Swami Vivekananda in the late 1800s. I don't know. I got a lot of stuff about Indian yogis and stuff from the East. I'm not sure. I'm sure it tells me about that and a bunch of that stuff. Like I got like 6 books on some stuff. One of them I started reading is really, really interesting. Really interesting. It's like, it felt like as I was reading, it was like taking me to a higher level of awareness. Things that, like, I'm just like, sometimes people can, like, they can phrase things in different ways. It brings a different light to how you look at life and everything. It's just like, wow. Like, that's, that particular book is, B. Yo, it's about a person you just said. Yo, for real, that third eye got stroked, my G. Look, it's by the dude you said. This book right here, Raja Yoga, right? I started reading through. When I got it, I was like, I need to download this on my phone. So I bought the Kindle version as well, so I could read it. Cause sometimes I just can't carry the book around with me all the time. Like even if I, but my phone I always have with me. This dude. The wisdom that comes, like, y'all just got to get it to see what I'm talking about when you read it. It's, that's crazy. That's crazy. First yogi to America. Swami Kananda. Yeah, what you just said, right? That's crazy. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yo, listen. This. Okay. That's crazy. All right, so we'll pause that right there. I better put my page number. Start with chapter 14. Okay. All right, so where we left off the other day in Field Guide to the Spirit Realm, I forgot. Oh, chapter 9. Chapter possession. Hold on. And this is on page 202. Oh yeah, I was waiting to get to this chapter. Okay, so we'll read like a page and a half to 2 pages. I'm trying to find a point where I can pause. All right, I think I might pause on page 205 next to the last paragraph. Oh, wait, hold on. Not there. Because it's finishing. It's going into a possession. I got a few minutes this morning, so let me... maybe we'll pause right here when assaulted. We'll pause right here on page 206 when it gets to the when assaulted. Okay. Possession. Quote, I am looking for people who would believe me. End quote. Annalise Michael, possessed. Quote, Father Arnold, it is really difficult to imagine what it is like. How is it possible that they can force a person like that? You have no power of your own at all. I don't understand at all how something like that is possible. End quote. Annalise Michael, as quoted in Felicita Goodman's The Exorcism of Annalise Michael. Most of the books written today about mind, consciousness, psyche can be read, put down, and easily forgotten. One great exception is The Exorcism of Annalise Michael, written by the anthropologist Felicitas Goodman. It was the, quote, true story, end quote, upon which the 2009 American film The Exorcism of Emily Rose was based. Annalise's story is all the more compelling in being the first modern case of death by spirit possession. And then there's an asterisk. And at the bottom, the asterisk says, we sometimes hear of Vodun deaths in Haiti and sorcery, IMP is in parentheses, and sorcery deaths in Polynesia. Go back up. Yes, Annalise, a lovely and intelligent college girl, majoring in education and theology in Germany, lost her life battling demonic possession. That was in the early 1970s. Neither the psychiatrist's drugs nor the priest's incantations could save her. A strict Catholic, Annalise set her problems in motion by her own zealous but, quote, naive piety, end quote. Willing to make a penance of herself, she believed the only salvation was to pray for others incessantly. She later explained herself to Father Renz, quote, "Oh, Father, I never thought it would be as cruel as this." Okay, something coming through. Thank you, Shebrew. Let me go ahead and send Girls 18 site to YouTube hell. Put them in a hell knot. Okay. Emily Rose, her possession was brutal. You know, I never really looked into her story here. You know, I don't even know that I want to watch the possession movie. I'll read just the details here. Okay. Willing to make a penance of herself, she believed the only salvation was to pray for others incessantly. She later explained herself to Father Renz, quote, "Oh, Father, I never thought it would be as cruel as this. I always thought that I would want to suffer for others so that they would not have to go to hell. But then things got really awful," end quote. Goodman, 1981, page 150. All page references in this section about Annalise are to the 1981 Goodman book. The world, she thought, could be saved by prayer and by contrition, starting with herself, quote, "I am a sinner," end quote. 1981, page 173. But then a voice began telling her she was damned. She was playing right into the hands of demonic forces. One time when she was in her depths, Father Rodwick visited her. He asked, quote, "What is your name?" And then the answer came, "Judas," end quote, spoken by the girl in a quote, "an altered, much lower voice," end quote. And there's an asterisk here. And the asterisk down at the bottom says, "During possession, the voice may be, quote, completely unlike that of the natural voice of the speaker," end quote. Goodman, 1988, page 96. Judas, the betrayer, was her main demon, but soon she, quote, "came to," end quote, whereon she and Father Rodwick had an, quote, "entirely reasonable conversation," end quote. However, quote, "the cramps, seizure started again," end quote, quite suddenly. Then she slapped him in the face. Father Rodwick, before leaving, told the family, quote, "We are dealing with the case of possession," end quote. 1981, page 85. Listen, this just reminded me of what I was about to tell y'all earlier when we was talking about the spooky hour a little bit. Night before last, I didn't know if I wanted to say it or if not. Okay. I was laying in the bed the other night. Not last night. I was going to mention something last night. This happened the night before last, right? Whole house was asleep. It was like early in the morning. Probably about, what time was it? I didn't quite look at the clock, but it wasn't time for me to get up yet. It was probably about 3, maybe 4. Maybe 4, because I finally got up round about 5. 3 or 4, but it woke me clean up out of my sleep. I was laying there, and I want to say I would have had to been in that in-between state where I'm just waking up, going to sleep, right? I think I was there because I felt it. I felt somebody slap me. Now, before you're like, "Girl, you and your husband," my husband never laid his hands on me, right? And my husband was asleep. And it's not like I felt it on my face, but I felt it on my face, like inwardly. And when it hit me, my head went to the side, like slap you on the right cheek, then slap me on the left cheek. Like I felt my head go psh, psh, like that. And my eyes, I was like, who just slapped me? Like literally. And I woke up, my husband is, Bellany came and got in the bed with us. She sleep. And I'm like, and I sat there. And I'm like, who freaking slapped me? Then I'm like, Ashars, where y'all at? It didn't scare me, but I was really kind of pissed. Like it really pissed me off because like, what can you do? Because I would have sounded like a mad woman if I started just going off and woke my husband up and telling him somebody slapped me. He was like, "Girl, going back to sleep." But I kid you not, that's what I was going to share. I was like, you know what, I'd had some crap. That's probably one of the most tame things that's happened to me, right? But with that, I'm like, I don't understand what it was, but I clearly know it was a slap because I felt it. Like, and I want to say my head, it felt like my real fleshly head, but I definitely know if my spirit has a form, it went that way. Like I felt it, and eyes open, and I sat up and like, and I quickly glanced because I knew it wasn't my husband. You know, it wasn't Bella. Nobody was in our room. I'm just like, and that's why I mentioned last night. That's what I mentioned last night when Selah was talking about the active spirit in the building again, where he was saying he had started talking about a friend that had moved into a house where somebody had died, and that's why I made the comment. I should have asked the sellers if somebody died in this house before we moved in, but when we moved in here, there was like complete peace, right? That's why we named this the Peace House, right? But it's just a few, and I say more than a few things that's happened here. I'm just like, okay, is spirits following us? Was a door open? I don't know, right? But I'm thinking, listen, the heavens gates is open. It is spiritual activity everywhere. It's funny, right? Because the other night, probably, you know what? I would say the same day. The same day Bella was in her room, right? Bella don't like to sleep in her room. We didn't made her room nice and pretty. She got like this princess bed and stuff to we're trying to make it seem enticing where, hey, you sleep in your own room like you're 6 years old now. You stay here, you play. She got this big doll house and stuff. Bella go in her room like she working a shift. I clock in at 9, I clock out at 5, and she don't go back into her room the next day. When we take her in her room, when she fall asleep, she will not stay asleep, not even 5 minutes, but she would get up and walk back in the room. One night, my husband, and this was hilarious. One night, my husband picked her up. He was like, let's see how far we get. So I'm like, you gotta be extra quiet, babe. You gotta be extra quiet. And so he walking in there, we tipping in there. I'm tipping behind him, he holding her. She must have felt the presence of her room. Not that it's what, like, we don't get any bad vibes when we in here. It's just, I don't know. I don't know. She must have felt us walk into her room. She lifted her head up. She said, She took her finger and pointed back down the hall. We started screaming, laughing. We like, listen, girl, we gonna put you out here in the law. It was funny because sis was out. We walked through the threshold of her room. She said, and she pointed her hand out, and we just turned around. We laughed. We're like, listen, girl, you can't sleep with us forever, right? Look. So, but it's crazy, right? Something's there. She knows. I don't know. But what happened was she was pulling one of her shifts in her room the other day. It was completely day outside. The sun was out and everything. So she's sitting in there. And earlier I had been in there because I was washing her clothes, folding it, hanging stuff up. And I took a couple dresses that she had and I laid it across her dollhouse. You know, one of them was like a princess dress, had like a little ruffle or whatever. So that's what I'm thinking. It kind of like sliding material. And so I knew it was that. So I took something that was a little bit rougher so it wouldn't slide off. I just set it there for the moment. You need a family pet. We've been talking about it. I mean, we was joking about it the other night. I said, just our luck, Bella and the dog will be in here in the bed with us. So, but I left it sitting up there. It was nice and sturdy, right? Sitting up there, Bella sitting here playing with her dolls and stuff while I'm folding up clothes and putting them in a drawer. Then I took a break. I left out of there, and then I was like, shoot, because it's like 3 baskets of clothes in there. And so I came back, and I was like, Tootie, I'm going to get back to this tomorrow. Let me just take it, and I set it over in the corner. But I left the dresses laying on the dollhouse. She said, okay, mommy. So she playing with her toys. I left out the room. The dresses, unless she bumped the dollhouse. I don't think she bumped the dollhouse where she was at. I went in the room. Next thing we know, we hear feet like, and Bella, this is how she come in our room. Like, you know how you running so fast, you need to turn somewhere, but you almost miss your turn. It's like, look, you should come down the stairs. Listen, here come Bella. And was like, what's going on? She said, my dresses fell. Remember when your dresses fell off your dollhouse? She thought it was a ghost in her room. And I'm like, girl, did you bump the dollhouse? She said, no, they just fell by themselves, you know. So, and me and James was in there cracking up. She's convinced that a ghost knocked her dresses down. Like, she's completely convinced that a ghost knocked her dresses off her dollhouse. She could be right? But the way I was thinking about how I laid the dresses up there, they, even with the slippy material from the dress, it would not have fallen off. Somebody would have had to bump the dollhouse. And they could have just, it could have been not as secure as I thought. Like, all these things I'm walking through my head, right? Like, clearly nothing knocked it off, but I'm like, Pam, you know, you experienced some crazy stuff in this house already since you've been here. So little sis might be telling the truth, right? Not that she would lie. I was like, so she might. The way sis came, it would have, if it was a cartoon, it would have been fire on the trail she was running. The trail that followed behind her it would have been fire. The way, I mean, she ran past her brothers and everything right into the room. I'm just like, man, I'm like, okay, maybe we need to pray the house out. But that was the night that I felt like somebody slapped me, like, and my head went to the left and then it went to the right. That's what it felt like, right? I don't know if my head actually physically went that way, but I felt it go left and I felt it go right. My eyes popped open. I'm like, and I looked over at my husband and I'm like, who just slapped me? You know, and then I got mad with my Ashar's like, how's somebody even close? Right? And so I don't know, y'all. It's some weird crap. I just don't know. Sage, look, I thought about some sage yesterday. I keep some sage, and not really just, get spirits out, but I like the smell of sage, and it is a natural air freshener. So that's why I keep some, right? Since I was gardening and I learned about that, so I keep sage, but apparently evil spirits don't like sage either. So, now that I know that, not that I'm just trying to clear evil spirits or whatever, but, it can't hurt. I be laughing at myself in this house. Look, she was totally immersed in doll play and startled her. Yeah, so I'm just like, I don't know. Sage the entire house on, yeah. That sound we did out when we was growing up. We call it praying out the house. We ain't use sage, but we get a bottle of oil, knowing everybody looking like Catholics putting crosses on everybody's forehead. Hold on. Look, while y'all jabbing, I got a bottle of oil. Hold on, look. Look. Listen, I'm still trying to break myself from some of my old Christian ways, right? Listen, no, seriously. But I got me some extra virgin olive oil, right? And now this oil is blessed. Don't nobody touch my anointing oil, right? I'll still use it from time to time. Growing up, praying out the house, Mama told us to pray out the house. Somebody got a bottle of oil. Either we'll take it, put it in our hand. Mama like, you go anoint everybody, or she'll come through anointing everybody, praying in tongues. Come here, anointing everybody. If my daddy was there, he'd be asleep. She was like, right? Anointing everybody. Pam, get the Bible. And so she'll anoint, and by the time she had us trained real good, either one of my sisters was anointed and I was walking behind with the Bible reading the 91st Psalm. He that dwelleth in the shelter of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Like, we know the 91st Psalm inside and out, upside down. I would do half, my sister would do the other half. We lay in the bed, like, because all kind of spooky stuff would be happening to us growing up and in our house, so we just, I don't know. Becoming an adult, moving out your parents' house. Oh, hold on, let me get me some anointing oil. Keep it on standby. We got a Bible. Keep that right by the anointing oil. We need to be able to get to it quick. We open up somebody had anointing oil. Somebody had a Bible. Somebody be opening up the windows, and then when they get to the door, they holding the door open so the spirit can go out. Like, first of all, they spirits. If we didn't open the door for them to get in, why do we need to open the windows and the door for them to get out? Can't they just disappear themselves out of here like they appeared in here? So all these things going through my head is just like, I don't know. I don't know, y'all. This is crazy. I got stories for days. Let me finish with this possession of Annalise. Hold on. Where we at? An hour and 20 minutes? Look. Wait a minute. Okay, that's weird. Yeah, that's how I got off. The whole slap in the face thing right here. Listen. Page 203. However, we at the first paragraph, the second to the last sentence of the first paragraph. However, quote, the cramps, seizure started again, end quote, quite suddenly. Then she slapped him in the face. Father Roderick, before leaving, told the family, quote, we're dealing with the case of possession, end quote, 1981, page 85. The first Fratson, demonic faces, appeared in 1970. Betrayed by her religious ecstasies, Annalise would sit with her rosary and sublime thoughts when, quote, suddenly, like sheet lightning on the distant horizon, she saw a huge, cruelly grimacing face that left her with a chill of nameless fear, end quote. And it has like a little cross. And at the bottom, the cross says, the visage may spread to the victim. One visiting friend was right in the middle of a normal conversation with Annalise when, quote, her face contracted into a real frat, a hideous, grimacing countenance. It was so demonic, end quote, 1981, page 72. I'm back up here. The year is 1981, page 21. There will also be the devotee's stigma, small wounds mysteriously opening on her feet, like the wounds of the Lord on the cross. 2, as she approached the virgin's shrine, quote, the soil burnt like fire, end quote. She could not even look at the medals and pictures of saints, so intensely did they shine. 1981, page 34. We have seen this painful acuity of the senses before, this hyperesthesia that marks the altered state. Goodman reports that Annalise's nervous system was by nature exquisitely sensitive, excitable, quote, the hypersensitive, end quote. She reasons, may then be subject to, quote, a lingering captivity, end quote. Any arousal unnaturally prolonged, 1981, page 206. The arousal in Annalise's case may have begun in earliest childhood. She was the sickliest of all her sisters, having survived scarlet fever at the age of 5. High fevers in childhood, as mentioned earlier, have long been known to presage psychism opening the door. Then at age 11, Annalise had a bad fall on her forehead, and it says Appendix C. Okay, let's look at Appendix C real quick. Appendix C. Oh, the Appendix C is trauma. Okay. This is going into detail on, you know what? Where we at? You know what? Let's read it and pause here. Okay. Let me do this so I know exactly where I'm at. Right here. Okay. On page 204, at about halfway through, a little bit after the halfway point, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The 9th line down, I'm going to start at that sentence. Then at age 11, Annalise had a bad fall on her forehead, Appendix C. So we're going to jump to Appendix C. We're going to read Appendix C, and then we're going to stop. And we'll pick it back up tomorrow. Okay, Appendix C begins on page 267. Stigmata. It was a signal of, it was a symbol, right? I understand it now, Ma. She's like opening the doors and windows. It's a symbol of letting them out. Yeah. Gloria said, spirits are really nasty. That's why I no longer go to my sister's house. I was getting to the point of regurgitation, stomach hurting, can't breathe. Jeez. Well, you have that kind too. Okay. So page 267 is Appendix C, trauma. The trail we are following starts with a traumatic event so overwhelming as to send psyche reeling, catapulted into the intangible, the next zone of existence referred to variously as the threshold, the void, the second state, elsewhere, and so on. Although we have legal beagles who disdain the, quote, abuse excuse, end quote, the stark reality remains. Our multiples and our most serious sociopaths were almost all victims of early trauma. The fact that many serial killers suffered severe head trauma has never been properly factored in. It is, however, not brain damage per se, but precarious states of consciousness, in the word psyche exteriorized. Many of us have heard of the formula, quote, fight or flight, end quote, which portrays the survival instinct at work when faced with a mortal threat. If the menace cannot be confronted or fought off, the only alternative is escape, flight, and it is no different for psyche when faced with terror, shock, or pain. The mind naturally seeks escape from life's bombshells. A sudden insult to the organism triggers the flight response, absenting from self. Isn't this what causes the shell of a person, this, quote, garage without a car, end quote? Something in his or her experience, something traumatic, has occasioned the disconnect, the flight from self, which in psychologies is known blandly as dissociation. Shock, injury, grave illnesses, surgery, under aesthetics, pure terror, and unconsciousness all represent the lowest possible state of human vitality, and it is in this state that the mind is rendered utterly defenseless, hence unable to resist, quote, the intrusion of a strong spirit personality. This is involuntary possession, end quote. Maury, 1988, page 76. It is equally compelling to discover how many top-flight mediums began their psychic career in accidents, injury, or illness. Sylvan J. Muldoon, Vincent N. Turvey, and Oliver Fox, all well-known sensitives of the earlier 20th century, had their psychic faculties intensified by long periods of illnesses, quote, had their psychic faculties intensified by long periods of illness, end quote. Battersby, 1979, X. Sylvan Muldoon, in a sleigh accident, was thrown out on his head. He promptly left his body and saw himself lying motionless by the side of the road. Ena Twigg, suspended above her body, was likewise aware of herself lying below during a surgery under anesthetic. Dr. Girdham has shown that psychism is more likely to occur, quote, after long debilitating illnesses such as typhoid and cholera, cholera, end quote. 1982, page 53. It was known, for example, that Nettie Maynard had suffered. Remember, Nettie Maynard was the prophet assigned to President Lincoln. It is known, for example, that Nettie Maynard had suffered both fragile health and protracted illnesses since childhood, having tempted death as she lay ill with typhus fever at age 8. She was, in hindsight, but one of countless mediums and seers who had survived serious childhood illness only by some miracle. Dee Home, Lurancy Venom, Eileen Garrett, Rev. Stanton Moses. As for the last, the great British seer William Stanton Moses, who would pass into spirit the same year Miss Maynard, 1992, he was once told by his controls that, quote, the tempering effect of a bodily illness has been in all your life an engine of great power with us. Wow. The tempering effect of a bodily illness has been in all your life an engine of great power with us, end quote. We also learned that Mrs. Piper's psychic powers were strongest during the times of poor health. During the period of an ovarian tumor, her readings were most accurate. Her spirit operator would fade away when her health returned. That's interesting because I guess I would say from personal experience, like when I had got sick with COVID, right? And I literally thought I was going to die. I was like, Father, I don't know, but I feel like I'm going to go, right? I don't want to, right? But I was like, for a few days, it felt like I was hovering in that in-between space where you normally waking up from a deep sleep. That's where, that's what it felt like. But during that time, because remember, I was telling y'all, once we came back, after I came back from that week of being gone, just trying to recuperate, during that time, that's when I started seeing all of them dead people, like people that I had known and people that I didn't know. And they was coming to me, talking to me. That's why I thought I was about to die, right? Simply because of things you hear, or when you're about to die, you start seeing a bunch of dead people and stuff like that. And so that's why I was like, Father, the people think I'm coming back in about a week. I remember I was using y'all, not that I was using y'all as an excuse, you know, but I was thinking about all this. I'm like, my children's still young. I'm like, what they gonna do? I was like, please help me recover. I'll do better. I'll leave the Reese's alone. Because Reese Cups, I didn't start getting sick. Because I love Reese Cups, right? And so I just kind of really went overboard, which would have compromised my you call it immune system or whatever. But it brought me down to a state where sickness was able to infiltrate my body. And I rarely ever get sick, right? Especially since being plant-based, but I had really overdid it with the chocolate and peanut butter. So, but yeah, it was doing that. That's what I'm saying. With that experience there, it was really interesting because that had never really happened to me before, to where I was actually seeing people. Like I would dream about them, but like every time, like even like opening my eyes, and it was just really, really weird. Like I wasn't afraid, but I'm just like, what in the world is happening? What is going on? You know, so I was doing everything I could just to kind of break myself out of it, like trying to move around. And because I was so weak, my husband had to help me to the bathroom for a few days. You know, that's how weak it was. Like I literally had no strength whatsoever. But yeah, it was, I don't know, but that, if it's anything like that, I would say that's true. But yeah, it was people that had recently died, our neighbor. There was, and I don't quite remember what they were saying to me. That's something I couldn't make out, but they were coming to me like they were trying to tell me something, give me information. I'm just like, and I still got these thoughts. Wait a minute. We ain't supposed to be talking to dead people. We ain't supposed to be talking to the dead. Why is they coming to me? Father, why is you allowing this to happen? Like all of this stuff. Yeah, my vibrations were lowered. Clearly, like my vibrations were lowered, but spiritually it seems like I was increased to where a bunch of things from the spiritual realm was able to bombard me, you know. I'll say bombard me because what's the word I can say? I'm spiritually like I don't know the word, like even though my vibrations were lowered, I think my overall vibrations of my spirit were extremely high, where I couldn't have been like possessed or anything or infiltrated, which is why it was like bombarding me constantly, coming at me or whatever, but they couldn't like infiltrate my spirit because my spirit is like super strong, right? Based on how I move and how I keep it up, and I'm pretty much a positive person all the time anyway. But even if I feel myself getting, you know, sometime it'll come out of nowhere, like, wait a minute, that is not even my thought. That is not even like my type of feeling. I can feel things sometimes trying to attach themselves to me, and it's just like, get out of here, get out of here, get out of here, right? Like, no, absolutely not. So I'm conscious of that, and I keep my vibrations high, you know. But like I said, if that's anything like that, this is really, really interesting. It really is. Okay. Let's see. We also learned on page 268. We also learned that Mrs. Piper's psychic powers were strongest during times of poor health. During the period of an ovarian tumor, her readings were most accurate. Her spirit operator would fade away when her health returned. Unfortunately, these seers, Piper, Muldoon, Home, Garrett, Moses, and Maynard, are in the minority, having turned their weakness for spirit into an asset, the gift, which is what, when we go through that, we all should be doing, right? I just kind of learned how to do that by default, by keeping my vibrations high, so to speak. Most others afflicted in childhood become the hapless victims of obsession, possession, multiple personality, and other, quote, disorders, end quote. Billy Milligan, MPD, remember MPD stands for multiple personality disorder. Billy Milligan, MPD, raped by his stepfather. Sybil, the famous multiple, sexually tortured by her mother. Jersey, possessed, molested by her father, and so on. The pattern remains consistent as we shift focus into obsessive compulsive disorder. Dr. Rappaport supplies many examples from among her OC patients. Jacob had collapsed at age 8 of a bleeding cerebral aneurysm and fell into a coma. The obsessed boy Zach, also studied by Rappaport, 1989, page 45, underwent 7 operations for congenital intestinal problems, which Rappaport, oddly enough, mistakenly characterized as, quote, unrelated to his OCD, end quote. Sheesh, that I ain't even watched that movie, Precious. You said her mom was disgusting. Oh, it's just, Page 269, second paragraph. Although any one of these illnesses, shocks or blows, might thrust psyche toward no man's land, head trauma is by far the leading cause of troubles. Nothing can disrupt or distort personality more than concussion. The head, after all, was long considered the seat of the soul. In the heyday of spirit circles, sitters were told by their controls that they, the invisible operators on the other side, act upon the brains of the sitters to accomplish the phenomena in the seance room. One PSI researcher put it plainly in a chapter titled, quote, How to Become a Psychic by Falling on Your Head, end quote. His examples included Edgar Casey, the famous sleeping prophet, who as a child was knocked out by a baseball. There was also the well-known Dutch psychic Peter Herkos, who fell off a 40-foot ladder, suffering damage to the brainstem. He woke up in a hospital, a mind reader. After the accident, Peter's parents said he was now, quote, someone else, end quote. In a similar case, CE, end quote, was possessed by a dead Austrian artist. He, CE, had earlier been hospitalized with a serious head injury. One of the earliest and best documented cases of, quote, secondary personality, end quote, was that of Doris Fisher. Doris, in fact, was multiple, MPD. The first altar had come on board when Doris was only 3. Her drunken father had thrown her down so violently that her head was injured. Another personality emerged. I feel some type of way when I see abusive children. It really angers me. Another personality emerged when she was 18 after she suffered an injury to her head and back. Head and trauma crime. Case histories are brimming with inappropriate, bizarre, or violent behaviors that were forerun by head trauma. Yet the authorities, meaning jurisprudence, are not eager for these facts to emerge, fearing that, quote, extenuating circumstances, end quote, behind criminal acts would weaken the hand of prosecution. I remember reading this earlier today. So this is like the second time I was reading because I went into a whole thing when I read this, it will weaken the hand of prosecution. So we just ignore the whole spiritual side. We just need to put a body in jail for the crime, right? And yes, the spirit start hopping like it did on what's that movie, Fallen. Spirit just hop. You can't use this body for nothing else. Oh, we'll just hop. And the murders and all the vagabondry keep going on in the world. But you had to put a body behind bars. Okay, so now the case is solved, but you still got the same crap going on. Listen. Yet the authorities, meaning jurisprudence, are not eager for these facts to emerge, talking about the spiritual side of things, fearing that, quote, extenuating circumstances, end quote, behind criminal acts would weaken the hand of prosecution. But the fact remains, some of the most vicious and inexplicable crimes have been committed by individuals with a history of grievous head injury. Of course, law enforcement and their, quote, hired guns, end quote, which are the paid psychiatrists, have found a way around this. A causal relationship between the trauma and deviant behavior has never been proven. True enough, but the raw statistics of the matter could hardly be coincidental. See facing page table C1. Where we at? We got this chart. Let me finish reading this and then we'll read the chart of all of these different people with their head injuries and what happened to them after they hit their head. This is the last two little paragraphs. Among criminal offenders, a propensity for altered states due to head trauma still goes unrecognized, and this for legal, not psychiatric reasons, namely to avoid risking a stronger defense that could put a truly dangerous individual back on the streets. Nevertheless, our growing corpus of criminal biographies shows an inordinate amount of head trauma. No, this is not any sort of, quote, abuse excuse, end quote, nor rationalization, and certainly not a means to get dangerous offenders off the hook, but only to comprehend the underpinnings of inexplicable, senseless, random acts of violence. There is so much that remains to be explored. If the law weren't so shy of finding mitigating circumstances, sometimes as obscure as scuba diving, Zodiac serial killer, had brain damage, tissue damage from lack of oxygen at birth, and or from scuba diving too long. Dean Coral, serial killer, also took up skin diving. Right, I remember reading this. This is a typo. At least I think it's a typo because, I mean, I guess you can go skin diving, but this is not the topic at hand, right? Dean Coral, serial killer, also took up, it says skin, but I'm sure it should be scuba diving based on what the rest of the sentence says. Dean Coral, serial killer, also took up scuba diving, but he had to quit when he nearly fainted. He also suffered from rheumatic fever and heart murmur. Chris Longo, familicide, was also a scuba diver. Yet the question remains, was it brain damage per se that set off homicidal behavior, or did that compromised mind become susceptible to controlling spirits? I think so, especially in light of the fact that these symptoms of concussion or of brain damage go on to exhibit a great range of paranormal behavior, manifestations in the domain of PSI. A mere sampling is shown in table C1. So I'm gonna read this chart real quick. It's on page 271. Table CI or C1. C1, paranormal behavior after head injury. So the column titles is the name, the offense, the trauma, and the paranormal behavior that happened after it, okay? So the first person is Otis Toole. His offense, serial murder, accomplice of Henry Lee Lucas in recreational killing. Trauma, hit hard in head with rock. Paranormal behavior, seizures, commune with dead mother, voices urge suicide. The next person, Henry Lee Lucas. His offense was matricide, serial killer, rape, and mutilation. His trauma, assaulted head. He was assaulted, his head, with board by mother, unconscious 3 days. His mama hit him in the head with a board. He was unconscious for 3 days. His paranormal behavior, dizzy spells, blackouts, floating air, at mercy of various forces. And that was quoted. That's what he said out of his mouth. Dennis Sweeney. His offense, he killed a New York representative, Allard Lowenstein, in 1980. Trauma, 1 year after head injury, a pump jack accident. His paranormal behavior, voices tormenting him. The next person, Todd Hall. His offense was arson resulting in 8 deaths. His trauma, lobotomized at age 14 after skateboard accident. He was in a coma for 6 weeks. His paranormal behavior was fugue, F-U-G-U-E. Doesn't think, quote, he did it, end quote, blackouts. Richard Chase. His offense, he was the vampire killer of Sacramento, 6 victims. Trauma, beaten by a gang, head pains. Paranormal behavior, spoke with invisible people, zombie, motivated by subhuman forces. Markman and Bosco, 1989, page 172. John Wayne Gacy, killer of 33, multiple head traumas, fainting, blackout, automatisms, alter personality, paranormal strength. Arthur Shawcross, serial killer, 11 victims, multiple traumas to the head, unconsciousness. OBEs, voices, precognition, paranormal strength, hyperesthesia, alter, fuse. Danny Starrett, serial rapist, several head injuries and blackouts. Paranormal behavior, him, quote, I feel a presence, another to obey, end quote. Lost time, automatic drawing. Spirits is bringing a message. Here you go. What is that? What does that mean to you? Oh my God, that was my father. Automatic drawing. Spirits moving your hands. And they just drawing stuff that they have no control over. The spirits are literally guiding your hands and you drawing something and it means something to the person that you're showing it to, right? It happens just like automatic writing, automatic drawing, automatic typing, right? Gary Heenick, bondage killer, serious head injury in grade school, paranormal behavior, dizziness, hallucination, divine, quote, divine messages, end quote. Joe Callinger, offense, killer, trauma, beaten on the head with a hammer, cheesy Pete's, paranormal behavior, night terrors, ESP, clairvoyant. Kim Bianchi, hillside strangler, trauma, falls on head. Paranormal behavior, sees, alter, and demons, lost time. Peter Sutcliffe, Yorkshire Ripper, severe blows to head and accidents. Paranormal behavior, hallucinations, trances, mind reading, hearing, voice of God. Next person, Richard Ramirez. His offense, he was a night stalker. Trauma, 2 childhood accidents, concussion, and unconsciousness. Paranormal behavior, visions, apparitions, dual personality. Bobby Joe Long, rapist, serial killer, hit twice by a car, and he had OBEs and visions. And the last person is Richard Speck. He killed 8 nurses. He had many head injuries, and his paranormal behavior were blackouts, lost time, and dissociative episodes. And that, my beautiful people, is our reading for today. I hope y'all enjoyed it. 204 and Appendix C. All right, so I hope y'all learned something today from this. Okay, I was reading comments that y'all made a little bit earlier. All right, beautiful people, so that is it for today. If you missed it earlier when we came in, I gave my comments and a little update about the so-called John Lant plates. When it stops, go back to the beginning, watch the first. I think we took like 30 minutes talking about that, and it was my intention to only talk about it for a couple minutes. So with that being said, thank y'all for hanging out with me today. I don't think Selah came in, so I'm going to just ask this question in a group. I was waiting to see if he came in, if he hanging out in the background. So I'm going to wait. If you hear, you just now hear me, you came in late, don't even respond. I'm going to just ask it in a group now. But it's referring to the John Lant plate. So, you know, I'll wait. I know you will get the ding for it. So, all right, y'all. That's it for today. It is Monday, December the 26th, 2022, day 298 of year 4 of reading through the books of the Law and the Prophets, another 4-year consecutive day count, day 1317. We continue to read from the so-called, and if, like I said, if you missed me and why we're calling it so-called now, just go back to the beginning of this video today. The so-called original manuscript of the John Lant plates, chapter 13 in the book of Apollo, son of Jehovah. And that started on page in big blue, the Elohist edition, page 107, and it went to page 108. And then we hopped on over here to the field guide to the spirit world, and we started in chapter 9, possession, and we read from pages 202 to page 204, and then it gave us a reference to hop over to appendix C. So tomorrow we'll pick this back up where we left off at after the reference for appendix C. If y'all were interested in the book that I had mentioned, the name that Bronze Joe brought up in the little red book that I went and got, and I realized the book that I was referring to and the person he was talking about was the same one. Mind blowing. If you want to get it, it's called Raja Yoga, right? Screenshot it real quick. Hold on, that's for Facebook. I'm telling you this, it's amazing. Some of the stuff he's sharing here. It's a really spiritual book. I'll call it spiritual book, right? And now I'll share it. I'll put the link in the community section and stuff so you can see it, right? I already put it in your cart, Ima. Yo, listen, I think there's an Audible for it. Don't quote me, but I'm almost certain there's an Audible for this too, right? I'm gonna double check it, and if it is, I'll let y'all know. And I think if it is, I'm gonna go ahead and get it. That way I can listen to it. This book is like, aside from the little glossary, it's 285 pages. It's good. I don't know. This is one of the ones that's good, like that 9 Eyes of Light from Egypt. That it's good. We could possibly add this to the list somewhere down the road, because you will see once you start reading it what I'm talking about, the insight and the way I like the way Brian Joke said. He said it stroked that third eye, like it it's good. That's all I can say about it, right? So when you get it's an audiobook on YouTube too. Hey, I'll post the link. If anybody found it, post the link in here before we go. But if so, I'll find it and I'll put it in the community section and make a little post and pin it so anybody wanna, if you don't have the money to purchase it or get the whatever, if it's up there, click on the link and listen to it for free. But you will see what I'm talking about when you get it. There you go. Thank you, Jamia. Hold on. Oh, no, not leave site. Hold on. It's about to kick me off here. Okay, I don't want to do that because this don't take me to a separate page when I do it. Anyway, Jamil, I believe that's the link. Jamil just put in here for this. So save that link real quick. All right, y'all. That is it. I love y'all. Thank y'all for hanging out. And I will see y'all. Oops, let's do a prayer. Father, we thank you we just thank you for leading us and guiding us. And we're going to ask you every single day, continue leading us and guiding us into all truth as we go on our search. And not just for the John Lant plates and get to the truth of that, but the truth of everything, the truth of who we are, who you created us to be, how we are to develop, how we're to teach our children, the example we should be setting, how we should be constantly progressing and taking each lesson and building upon it and using it as stairs to climb higher and higher and leaving a clear, marked out roadway for all of those that are coming behind us. We thank you for that. And you are totally friggin' amazing. In your most holy name. All right, y'all. So that's it. I love y'all. Or is this the one? You know what? Okay, so if I click on it, let me see if I can copy it. I'll see. If I can click on this one, you got 3. Let me see if I can check them. Let me check them. Oh, you deleted that one as soon as I was about to copy it. Okay, hold on. Okay, so this last one might be it. Okay, because it was disappearing. Okay, let me see. Let me check it. Auntie, love you, girl. Hold on, let me put it up here. Let me see. The video isn't available anymore. Hold on. Hold on. Let me see. Let me type it in. Hold on. Let me see. I see. This could be one of the links. Maybe let's see. Yoga Swami. Yeah, Swami Vivekananda. Hold on.
Raja Yoga by Swami Vivekananda, issued by Cellophase Press somewhere beyond the Canarian Hills, i.e. Leeds, England, August 2003 EV. Revised and corrected November 2003. This work is in the public domain. This is a private audiobook recording read by Hiromi Nishizawa. Each soul is potentially divine. The goal is to manifest this divine within by controlling nature, external and eternal.
I think this is it.
Each soul is potentially divine. The goal is to manifest this divine within by controlling nature, external and internal. Do this either by work or worship, or psychic control, or philosophy, by one or more, or all of these, and be free.
Okay, I think this is it.
This is the whole of religion. Doctrines or dogmas, or rituals, or books, or temples, or forms are but secondary details. Preface. Since the dawn of history, various extraordinary phenomena have been recorded as happening amongst human beings.
The preface is not the same.
Witnesses are not wanting in modern times to attest the fact of such events, even in societies living under the full blaze of modern science.
But this one I have...
The vast mass of such evidence is unreliable, as coming from ignorant, superstitious, or fraudulent persons. In many instances...
Okay. She did say it was a updated one. I think I have the first one, which the preface would be different if they added a little bit to the preface. First edition, 3 printings. Second edition, 4 printings. Paperback edition, 1982. This is copyright 1956. Yeah, her copyright was didn't she say 2005? I think she said her copyright was 2005. Hold on. Yeah, she said revised version. Okay. Let me look. I'll see if I can. I haven't read the revised version, any of it. I'm not sure how much different it is, but let me see if I can find this one. I guess all of the updates are normally, this is the one that I was just letting play, Bronze. Hold on, I'm gonna have to give you a wrench so you can post a link. Because we might be cousins anyway, Bronze, yo. For real, we doing this whole research on this family line and stuff. Is that what you're saying? The one I was just letting play, or Jamia's link? That one? Okay, that one. Okay. Let me copy this one. Hold on. Hold on. It said this site can't be reached. Are y'all able to see it? Good narrative too. Hold on. Maybe it's because with me copying this, it want to open it up, but it's gonna. I think because it's cutting it off for me. If I click on it, it's gonna send y'all away because it's gonna open it up here on this same link. Okay, so that's the link that Bronze put. Everybody save that link. I'll be able to click on it and change the page here in a second, so I can actually open it up because it's breaking it up for me when I copy it and paste it, so I'm not getting the whole link. We'll go ahead and end it, but say them links that they just put, the one that Bronze just put. Hold on. And Jamia. It's probably the same link. I don't know. I'm just trying to see if I can open it before. Yeah, with me copying and pasting it, it's breaking up the link, so it's saying the page is can't be because when I see it, it's the same. Okay. So I'm gonna have to click on it when I end this to actually be able to open it up, because it's not gonna open it up in a different in a different page. All right, so that's it. Gloria, I hate to change the topic. It was snowing in Florida. I gotta call Tylane. Tylane, you here hanging out? She be hanging out in the background. She out there in Florida. But that's a rare occurrence happening out there. We thought it was gonna snow here a couple days ago, as cold as it was, but it didn't. No flurries or anything. It's just super, super cold, right? I'm just like, oh, I want to go back to Hawaii. All right, y'all, that's it. Let's get out of here. I got all this stuff coming through. I need to get going. All right. All right, that's it, y'all. I love y'all. I see y'all back here tomorrow morning, bright and early, 6:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, I didn't mention yesterday, new moon was spotted Saturday. So new moon, new Sabbath days that we will be observing will be on Saturdays, right? So we won't be here on Saturdays starting this Saturday coming up. All right, you're welcome. I love y'all. Like I said, I see y'all in the morning. Peace.